And we're back on Second Street talking about political violence and how we avoid some of the major problems that we're seeing south of the border spill over into Canada here. Before the break, we were talking about some of the language that, I've noticed is thrown around very carelessly. I don't think it's very responsible for anyone in public discourse to casually call someone a Nazi, a white supremacist, etc. But I want to ask you guys about the opposite. Sometimes I hear the word communist thrown around or a commie. Obviously, that's done so in a pejorative way, and it's not always accurate. And I don't think that helps. Are there other examples where maybe those who are on the, I hate the left-right spectrum, but those on the right, where maybe they're not being responsible? Mark, any observations there?
Well, for sure, I've seen some of the same examples of people using that language,
Hmm.
and it's generally not helpful and it's generally not accurate. If everyone's a communist, or if everyone's a Nazi, or everyone's a fascist, depending again on your political ideology or orientation, then I guess no one is, right?
Hmm.
And you hollow out the meaning of words, and that's dangerous because when a real problem comes along, you don't have the right words to identify it, right?
Yeah.
And again, I think in Canada there's kind of a I'm trying to think of where this comes from. I do think it's probably the bias in academia, which Barry Cooper and Lydia Miljan, or sorry, in the media, pointed out 25 years ago. The bias in academia these days against libertarians or conservatives, which has been there for a very long time. And so there's kind of presumption that if you're not progressive, I think it was Jonathan Haidt that discovered this in one of his books and pointed out that conservatives and libertarians
Hmm.
actually understand liberal thought. The reverse is not true. So there's a whole bunch of things that go into why people use labels they do. But in general, I think
Hmm.
it's not helpful as opposed to identifying a problem. We've got a problem with terrorism, potential terrorism in this country, and anti Semitism openly on the streets. I think that's more real, for example, in Islamophobia. So I think one has to be specific, and a lot of people aren't, and I don't think that's helpful.
Candice, I want to talk to you about solutions. You mentioned before about Antifa engaging in violence. I mean, there certainly are examples of that. You're going to have people who are involved in Antifa, just young kids getting involved because they think it's cool, whatever. And maybe they're not actually engaging in violence. What do we do to get people away, to take a step back from violence and shift towards debate, discourse, political action at the ballot box, that type of thing?
Well, isn't that exactly what Charlie Kirk was trying to do? He was going to university campuses, right? The heart of this woke illiberal ideology, and trying to have respectful conversations. I want to go back to something that Mark said, and then I promise I'll try to help with the answer of solutions. Mark, you pointed
Hmm.
out that President Trump said that he doesn't forgive the person who killed Charlie Kirk. Look, it was an incredible, extraordinary act of her faith and her Christianity for Erica Kirk to say, just 10 days after her husband was assassinated and murdered for the crime of speaking on college campuses, that she forgives him. I could not forgive that fast. I don't think almost anybody in the world could forgive someone who murdered their husband and the father of their children that quickly. President Trump came on and sort of made a joke about it, about his own nature, saying, I wish I could be more like Erica and Charlie Kirk, but I'm not. I'm angry and I'm hateful. Look, hateful against those who kill us, right? I think that that's a joke. And for you to come on the show and characterize that as somehow the equivalent of calling for violence and raising the temper, I just think that's wrong. I think that you misunderstand President Trump.
Trump has
You
a
Okay,
history of
misunderstand
calling for
let's talk
political
President
violence.
Schumer.
let's talk solutions here. People want to hear, how do we fix this problem, Candice?
Well,
What's number one
it's
on
not
your
easy
list?
to fix. You have to right. You can't put the genie back in the box, right? Like the way that you engage and fix this problem is to do what Charlie Kirk was doing: have conversations with people in the flesh, talk to them eye to eye, not on your screens, not via Twitter or Blue Sky or whatever echo chamber you exist in, but go out into the real world and have respectful conversations. And the reason why this is so scary, Colin, is because what this you call him a terrorist, or you can call it whatever, political violence. What he did was he put the fear into the hearts and the minds of anyone who considers speaking out, anyone who considers having a dissenting opinion. That's the purpose of it. That's why this is such a scary time. And again, this isn't the time to just sit and forgive and just move on, right? We need to continue to fight against this menace, which is the woke ideology, which is this idea that violence is somehow acceptable in politics.